The delicate petals of the cherry blossom tree flutter around me, a stark contrast to the desolation that surrounds us both. My senses, honed by years of rigorous training, detect an unseen presence that awakens a primal fear deep within my core. From the swirling mist emerges a monstrosity, a colossal crab, born from the nightmarish depths of the Makai world. I close my eyes briefly, centering myself. Years of discipline and purpose flood back, grounding me in this moment of impending chaos. Each measured breath calms my spirit. The behemoth begins to circle, its intent clear in every menacing movement. I shut out the world, focusing only on my breath and the space between us. Suddenly, the crab lunges forward with surprising speed. In one fluid motion, I draw my katana. Its gleaming edge catches what little light filters through the mist, its razor-sharp edge sinking through the air. Our dance of death has begun. As the first creature falls, more emerge from the impenetrable fog. Their eyes glow with malevolence, claws raised and ready for battle. Surrounded and outnumbered, I brace myself for what may be my final stand. I accept the possibility of my death, finding a strange peace in the face of overwhelming odds. In this moment of crisis, I am both warrior and philosopher. As cherry blossoms continue to fall around me, I stand at the crossroads of life and death, duty and inner peace. Whatever the outcome, I will face it with honor and acceptance. As the leader of our battle-hardened trio, I survey our dire situation in this god-forsaken Johannesburg warehouse. The flickering light barely illuminates Petrus and Hendrik's grim faces. We've been through hell, but nothing like this. I feel the weight of my scars as I check our dwindling ammo. Hendrik's rigging our last explosives. His hands are steady as ever. Petrus is at the window, his keen eyes scanning for threats through his scope. The moonlight catches his rifle, a stark reminder of the nightmare outside. Suddenly, a massive claw punches through the wall. Contact! I shout, my rifle already at my shoulder. The familiar kick as I open fire is almost comforting. I see my rounds puncture the beast's eyes, sending it reeling. Hendrik detonates a charge, and part of the roof collapses onto the advancing horde. The explosion momentarily drowns out the hellish clicking of their claws. Petrus's precision shots take down the stragglers, but I know we can't hold this position. I shout, fall back to the loading bay. Hendrik lays down covering fire with his shotgun as we retreat. The buckshot ricochets off their shells, buying us precious seconds. In the loading bay, I realize this is our last stand. We break through or die trying. I tell my men, steeling myself for what's to come. The crabs swarm in, their glowing eyes fixed on us. We unleash everything we've got, creating a kill zone of lead and blood. But they keep coming. Then Hendrik spots it, a rocket launcher in an old truck. I sprint for it. Petrus is covered. I roar, aiming at the densest cluster of crabs. The explosion is magnificent, sending crab parts flying everywhere. For a moment, there's silence. Then emerging from the smoke, a behemoth crab appears, 10 times the size of the others. Its battle-scarred armor gleams as it lets out an ungodly screech. We stand our ground, weapons raised, facing this final, terrifying adversary. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together. I am Marnus Kruger, and we are the Reaver Knights.
The jazz bar felt like a sanctuary amidst the chaos of the city. I took a deep breath, letting the smooth notes of the saxophone wash over me, trying to drown out the memories of the destruction outside. Just hours ago, life seemed so simple. My name is Miguel Ramirez, and I am a New York City detective. The drug bust was supposed to be routine. 6 months of planning with the target being one of the city's key players. SWAT were suiting up, and I was crouched behind a dumpster, ready to move in, when the first screams reached my ears. At first, I thought it was related to our operation, but then I felt it, a tremor that shook the very ground beneath my feet. I peered around the corner and my jaw dropped. There, towering above the buildings, was something straight out of a nightmare. Giant crabs, their massive claws tearing through concrete and steel like paper. Within minutes, the sky was filled with the sound of choppers as they began to fire upon the beasts. Just then, my radio crackled to life, filled with panicked voices and one clear order. All units, fall back. The city is under attack. The bust forgotten, I sprinted through the chaos-filled streets, my mind reeling. How was this possible? What were these things? I had to regroup. Pushing through debris-strewn streets, I helped civilians find safety, my mind racing with questions and filled with fear. As the city descended further into pandemonium, I found myself drawn to a familiar haunt, an old jazz bar where I'd spent many nights unwinding after tough cases. I slumped onto a bar stool, nodding to the bartender. He didn't ask questions, just poured me a whiskey. As I sipped the amber liquid, my mind raced. What could I, a mere detective, do against monsters that could level buildings? Taking a deep breath, I stepped outside. What I saw made my blood run cold. Those monstrous crabs were right there, their massive forms silhouetted against the night sky, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. In that moment, I knew that this was bigger than anything I'd ever faced. As I stood there, my heart pounding and my palms sweaty, I realized this was just the beginning. Whatever came next, I knew I had to face it head on. For my city, for the people I'd sworn to protect. As the giant crabs drew closer, their steps shaking the ground, I steeled myself for what was to come. This was my city, and I'd be damned if I let some oversized seafood take it without a fight.
The scorching Texas sun beat down on my back as Robert and I rode through the desert. We were close to nabbing our fugitive. I could feel it in my bones. 10 years as a Texas Ranger had honed my instincts, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. As I crouched down to examine the fresh tracks in the dust, the ground started to shake, a low rumble growing louder by the second. Then I saw it. A massive crab, bigger than anything I'd ever seen, crested the hill. Its armored body gleamed in the sunlight, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, more of the monstrous crustaceans erupted from the desert floor. Years of training kicked in, and Robert and I took up a back-to-back defensive position, drawing our weapons. We let off a number of shots, but to no avail. I shouted at Robert to run. We sprinted for our horses, the earth quaking beneath our feet. As I turned, I saw Robert struggling to make his escape. A shadow fell over him, and in a heartbeat, my partner was gone, snatched up by one of those hellish creatures. His scream cut short, leaving only the thunderous sound of the approaching horde. I managed to reach Moscow, and she reared in panic. I clung on for dear life as we galloped away. I had to warn others. I had to get home to my wife Anna and our daughter Emma. Powers blurred together as I pushed my horse to its limits. Finally, I crested a hill and saw my hometown in the distance. Relief washed over me, only to be replaced by horror. Flames and smoke rose from several buildings, and I could make out the shapes of those damned crabs moving through the streets. My exhausted horse stumbled, and I dismounted. As I ventured closer to my home, a scream pierced the air, a voice I'd recognize anywhere. "Anna!" I yelled, drawing my revolver and breaking into a run. I rounded the corner and froze. One of those giant crabs stood before me, its claw wrapped around our family car. Anna and Emma were trapped inside, their faces pale with terror. My revolver felt pitifully small in my hand as I faced down this monster, my family's lives hanging in the balance. But my name is Morgan Cassidy, and I'm a Texas Ranger, and we don't back down from a fight.
The icy winds of Siberia howl around us as I sit beside my wife, Sasha, in the cockpit of our beloved mech, Dreadnought. My heart races with a familiar mix of excitement and trepidation. We've faced countless dangers together, but this mission feels different, more perilous. If the intelligence was good, we should have been right on top of the large nest. "Ready, my love?" I ask, my hand hovering over the ignition. Sasha nods, her eyes fixed on the radar. "Always. Let's end this infestation once and for all," she says. As Dreadnought roars to life, vibrations course through my body. Steam billows from the joints as we trudge through the snow-covered landscape. Suddenly, the ground trembles and the snow erupts around us, revealing dozens of monstrous crabs. "Bоже mой!" I exclaim, momentarily overwhelmed. There are so many. Sasha's determined voice steadies me. "Then we'll take them all down. For Russia." We activate our weapon systems as the crabs descend upon us. We push forward relentlessly, leaving a trail of fallen enemies in our wake. But for each one we fell, two more take its place. "We're getting close to the nest," I report, studying the thermal imaging display. "It's just beyond that ridge." As we crest the hill, I gasp at the nightmarish scene before us. The mountain teems with thousands of giant crabs, and at its center stands a colossal beast, dwarfing even our mighty neck. "That must be the queen," Sasha mutters. "If we can take her out, the rest might retreat." I nod grimly, acutely aware of our dwindling resources. It's our only chance. We're running low on ammo and power. Sasha screams into the radio, requesting air support, but receives no response. As the horde charges towards us and our situation becomes dire, I feel fear grip my heart. Alarms blare, and I know we're out of options. I turn to Sasha, my partner in all things. A lifetime of love and trust passes between us in that moment. "Together?" I ask, my hand hovering over the emergency rockets button. She nods, placing her hand over mine. "Together." As we press the button, Dreadnought fires rockets towards the mountainside, triggering a massive avalanche. I close my eyes, stealing one last look at Sasha as we brace for impact, grateful that at least we'll face the end side by side. Я тоже тебя люблю. But fate has other plans. The ground beneath us gives way, and we plummet into darkness. We land in a cavern, and after checking our systems, we proceed deeper, only to hear the nightmarish screams of the king and queen crab. We found the nest. As I embrace Sasha,
1,000 thoughts race through my mind. Is this our end, or just the beginning of an even greater challenge? As the creatures approach us, I hold on to hope. Hope that somehow we'll survive this together.